Before British imperialism, India made up 25% of the global industrial output. Now 60% of their population lives under the poverty line. British imperialism has permanently changed India in many ways, some better than others. Imperialism had both positive and negative effects on both countries, India and Great Britain. India was imperialized by Great Britain in 1763 and gained independence in 1947. Imperialism is when one country, the mother country, takes over and colonizes another country, the colony. It started when the British East India Company came in and established trade with India. It then grew until it was controlled by the government and they established control over India. Over this 184-year period, Britain built many bridges, roads, and railroads. They also brought many Western ideas to India. These include Western traditions, sciences, and education. Imperialism also changed the Indian economy drastically. Britain eliminated smaller industries and turned them into an agricultural economy. This greatly impacted India in the long run, as they are still seeing the effect of it today. All this has had many benefits and drawbacks for India and Britain.
In India, there are positive effects to British imperialism, although the negative effects outweigh the positives. British turned India into an agricultural country and eliminated small industries. Some of the benefits that Britain brought to the Indians were better transportation and communication. Some examples of that are the many bridges that were built and about 40,000 miles of railways, as well as 70,000 miles of paved roads. From Britain's point of view, they say that they also brought in better sanitation and a higher life expectancy, although the Indians would not agree. Industrialization has also begun. India now has improved sanitation and a higher standard of living, said J.A.R. Marriott. Also, according to him, famine had disappeared. The communication was improved, along with the roads and railways, transportation was greatly enhanced. The British thought that they had brought peace and government control, which from an outside point of view may seem true, but when the Indians shared their experience, it would seem much different. After many years of colonization in India, the native culture slowly began to be erased. That can still affect some of the colonized countries today. The Indians would describe it as the knife of sugar. At first it is sweet, but nonetheless it is a knife. The small industries in India were all broken up and the growth had stopped. A typical economy was built and mainly agricultural goods were being made for England. They would make materials in India, ship it to England, and then sell it to India from England. In the government, the British had taken every spot, leaving no room at all for the natives in India. There was no Indian representation, and they did not learn how to govern themselves. When Britain left, they took all that they had gained with them, and India had no experience with controlling their own country, and they struggled greatly. You English committed one supreme crime against my people. For hundreds of years you have done everything for us. You have given us no responsibility for our own government, said Mohandas Gandhi. Mohandas Gandhi was a non-violent civil rights leader as well as a political figure and lawyer who helped India to freedom. Additionally, India's culture was slowly getting erased from British imperialism, but they did gain good aspects from the British as well. Overall, the disadvantages of British imperialism in India left more scars than the advantages did.
There are many beneficial impacts and some disadvantages for Great Britain due to imperialism in India. Before India was imperialized by Britain, agriculture was one of the main ways of making money along with small industries. This is partly because India had very fertile land due to being close to the Himalayas. Britain also had just lost a war to America, so they were dealing with depleted resources and money. The positive effects for Britain include Britain being able to plant food all year round because of the warm climate, and then exporting the provisions back home. Britain also gained unprecedented access to resources they otherwise would not normally possess, including rubber, jute, cotton, indigo, sugar, and spices, which they could export to other countries. Britain also took complete authority over India's government, and they did not allow Indians to participate. Britain created a law in India stating that you cannot make your own clothes. They made this law because, as you know, India produced a lot of cotton. Britain forced the Indians to switch a lot of their own fields to cotton and harvest it for the British. Next, Britain would turn the cotton to fabric and sell it back to the Indians to make more of a profit. So India provided resources and a market for Great Britain. To add on to the advantages of imperialism of India for Britain, they also obtained more personnel for their armies. The negative effects of imperialism in India consist of Great Britain's limited resources due to losing the war to America, being spread almost too thin. This partly is a result of being 4,758 miles away from Britain. Furthermore, taking over India was a big gamble for Britain because they had already lost supplies, and if they failed, they would lose a lot more money and resources. These pros and cons show that Britain got more out of imperialism of India than India did. And for Britain, the benefits outweigh the negative impacts. That's why Britain made the decision to assume power over India. Though it was a big gamble for Britain, it paid off. In the end, Britain gained more resources, more power, and a greater economic profit. They risked losing money and spreading their materials too thin, but the benefits of imperialism of India outweighed any of the negative impacts for Britain. Aidan.
For both India and Great Britain, there were many benefits and drawbacks to British imperialism in India. These positive and negative effects are examples of what imperialism can do to a mother and a colony. Taking over a country can wash away its native culture. Experiencing different cultures opens your minds to ways you can improve your own.
Though imperialism in India may not seem to have any impact now, it did and still does continue to impact both India and Great Britain. For instance, the controversy about the Kohinoor diamond, stolen from India thousands of years ago, was in Queen Elizabeth's crown. The controversy was that the diamond had a bloody history and had been taken by the British in 1849. Britain wanted the gem because they felt it symbolized their power and colonial superiority. So, having the Kohinoor in the Queen's crown gave them the impression that Great Britain still thought of themselves as superior and reminded many of the British imperialism in India. The British have since removed the Kohinoor diamond from the crown, but Britain still has not given the Kohinoor back to India.